Hello, so this is what I want to read you today. Our leaders were put to death. If it had not been for the organization that came into existence just on the heels of this, she's referring to protests. Our leaders were put to death, and after they were put to death, there came to the front an organization, a so-called labor organization, the AFL, the American Federation of Labor. What have they to produce? What have they to show for their 46 years? They have gone together and scraped together the mechanics, 2 million in a population of 38 million. They have 2 million under their banner. The others can go straight to hell for all they care. They are nothing but the common herd. As I see this movement today, 44 years from now will tell a different story. 44 years from now, I believe such a thing will have disappeared because she's seen movements come and go. So she was speaking about how she saw the Chicago labor movement, and even her husband was hanged. And it was for a crime he did not commit. Anyway, she really made sense in this part where she was talking about how they made up an organization. I feel like she was being critical of the American Federation of Labor, because she's like, wow, after they take away some leaders, they put in this basically fake organization that doesn't do anything, but it does work to help people stay quiet and feel like, oh, well, we do have the American Federation of Labor, therefore no workers will ever be mistreated again. But these organizations, they don't talk to people who are actually like on the ground working with, labor people. Just like how we see with Black Lives Matter, you see that they donated a lot of money, they got a lot of millions of dollars coming in, but they don't use it to help anyone. They don't even talk to people who are on the ground trying to help their community. And really, they don't need to talk to people, they need to just talk to communities themselves. Like, nobody needs a representative to speak for them. If you want to help someone, you can just do it. She said it was called Haymarket, and it was an 8-hour movement. Haymarket Square in Chicago, Illinois. So what I really want y'all to know is, no one need be discouraged because the waves of human forces to the radical movement come and go. They all leave their imprint. The radical imprint, they all leave something behind. The next great movement like this one that comes simply steps into the footsteps of those who have gone and carry it further until the emancipation comes. It is a lesson of history. We do not accomplish all in one day or one generation. It goes on to other generations, and I believe, without flattering this organization, that they have the right hope. And this is Lucy Parsons, a May Day speech. It was made May 1st, 1930. I'll be damned if I go back to work under those conditions. I wanted to read this because she had a very positive outlook on protesting. We have Crime and Criminals by Lucy E. Parsons. This was written March 25th, 1906. Our saintly Christians and other goody-goody people throw up their hands in horror in contemplating the prevalence of crime among the, quote, lower classes. Crime or unsociable acts among the lower classes are only a reflex of crimes or robberies of the upper or better classes. We rob our children before they are born. How many thousands, millions of mothers among the working class are there who see 1,001 articles while in a state of pregnancy which their appetite craves or their heart desires, and yet are unable to gratify it? They walk the streets gazing at gorgeous displays, everything to attract the eye and cause the heart to wish for, yet unable, owing to poverty, to gratify such natural longings. What is the consequence? With this, I wanted to say how, that is true. Like, people will say, money is a good thing, we need money, but it's like, you're keeping people from resources on the basis of money, things that, hey, you do want luxury in your life. You do want to eat good food. You do want to enjoy your pregnancy and not feel sad and like, oh, I still have to work, I still don't have this, that, and third. And then you see riches reflected to you at every moment of the day. You see rich people enjoying themselves. And we have these reality shows promoting it. We have it promoted pretty much in every song, and you're just not even touching it, which is how a lot of people feel, because most people are making less than 30,000 a year, or they're making money but they aren't really making enough because of where they live, because they have so many expenses. So it's like, oh yeah, I made it, but it's still leaving me $2 after paying all my bills. I can't do anything else but wake up and work, and I hope my job gives me overtime. I want to work 70 hours a week, and then they don't get to enjoy anything. And that's where it comes in, where it's like, oh yay, we have 8 hours of a work week, but people, honestly, people wouldn't like it if we went down to 4 hours in a work day. I think people wouldn't like it. 8 hours in a work day, 4 hours, because they want to be able to make the most money possible, and they don't want their jobs cutting their hours. And there will be people who are even willing to work for free because the job will promise them a job in the future. Like, oh, I'll work with you for free for 2 years as long as you promise me a job in the future. And that happens. And it's very much privilege, because not a lot of people can just work for free, and we know this. But, or work for a lower pay. Like, oh, we'll just start you off at $7, $8, whatever minimum wage is, and then we'll boost it up. But you gotta stay with us. You gotta stay with us, and there's an opportunity to become a manager, but you gotta stay with us and accept being poor. So now I'm gonna go into the next paragraph. The unborn child is impressed. It feels the same disappointment that the mother feels. It is impressed upon it. We have robbed it before its birth. It enters the world with an unsatisfied, grasping nature. The proclivity grows steadily upon it with its growing years. The desire grows stronger because of poverty, and finally the child reaches forth and takes someone else's property. This is death. It is illegally done. Then society, for the first time, takes interest in this human being. It comes forward to punish the child. So it wasn't bad when you were starving. It wasn't bad when your mom was starving. It wasn't bad when you guys were struggling. It wasn't bad when you guys were getting yelled at, getting abused, getting laughed at, getting kicked out of school because you didn't have money. You know how it goes being poor. And everything's okay, but soon as you do something to somebody else's property, oh, okay, now I'm interested. Let's punish you. And now they are now ready to inflict torture upon the victim of its own false, unnatural inhuman system. So this system is false, unnatural, and inhuman. And now, yay, we put you here, and we're gonna punish you for acting exactly logically, because how that person acts is absolutely logical. Like, you got nothing, you never had anything, now you're trying to steal just to finally get something, and people are like, well, you could just get a job. No, you can't. No, they fucking can't. And I don't like hearing this shit. Y'all have never searched for a job in the past 30 years. And if you have, you haven't put yourself in somebody else's shoes who doesn't have as much education as you, who doesn't, like, you guys have to look at the bottom of the earth, like the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, because the odds are you are good. You're in the middle, or you're in the upper middle, or you're going to be a millionaire, or whatever you're saving up for. But other people, like, a society isn't judged by the you, it's judged by the ones who are literally at the fucking bottom. And if you don't relate to that, because I can relate to it, but if you can't, then you shouldn't be talking. But that's my opinion, which is a fact. But anyway, how much better, wiser, and cheaper it would have been to make conditions natural and social, so that the child could have seen the light of the earth under the best conditions possible, instead of, as often the case, under the worst conditions. how much better this would be than to have to build great, gloomy prisons superintended by guardsmen who harden and debase their natures more, right? Because we know. We saw Orange is the New Black, and if you didn't, you don't have to. Prisons don't make people better. That's why when somebody gets out of prison, people get scared because they know that prison is a place that makes people grow more crazy and get more violent, because it's supposed to be rehabilitation. It's supposed to help you get back ready to be in society, but it don't do that. And we know. Anyway, those who know. The case holds good with murders, legal and illegal, or lynchings. The sensational press, the media, the newspapers, now we got digital websites, newspapers, gives all the gory details of such occurrences in great glaring headlines. They catch the eyes of thousands of prospective mothers. They are impressed with the horror in its details, and they turn and impress the unborn child. The child is born, it reaches the man's and woman's estate, some adversity crosses its path, and the old prenatal impression rushes upon it, and an awful deed is committed. And what she says is true. Like, people get impressions while they're in the womb. And then upon birth, like within the first 5 years, all of that stuff is also impressing on the child's brain. And technically, the first 5 years of your life is the most important, y'all. So if it was messed up, you got some unlearning to do, learning how to love again, learning how to have joy, play, all that. But it's not impossible. Anyway, but still, it's like, it does mess up people, and I don't think people should blame themselves. So now, the community is shocked and wonders where such a monster could have come from. I do not wonder that anymore. Another candidate starts for the prison or the gallows. Thus the long procession is ever wending its way through the ages. The hoary-headed old hag society throws up her hands in holy horror. When one of her children commits an awful deed, she never recognizes the fact that this is only the reflex of her own misdeeds. Crime is simply a social disease. Society has to supplant the prison with the schoolhouse, hopefully grow wise enough to do it, the teacher for the hangman, and the kind treatment for punishment, and substituting justice with kindness for brutality. We will hear little more about crime and criminals. So we have to start substituting and giving people kindness, yes, and we have to give kind treatment and all of that, and give an actual good school system, if anything. But y'all get the point.